17 to 14. Cowboys out in front. Starr begins the count. Takes the snap. He's got the quarterback. And the Green Bay Packers are going to be world champions.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. If you'd like to email the show, you can send a message to PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. If you'd like to text the show, you can send a text message to 865-658-5824. Excited to have on the line with us tonight on the pod. We've got Ryan Schlip, the resident fanalist. You've got me, Clayton, the redneck fanalist. And you've got Jacob over there, the sharpest beard this side of the or their side of the Mason-Dixon line or the Mississippi, however you want to say it, don't matter to me. But Ryan, dude, what's been going on, man?
Well, I'm. It's becoming a tradition with the show. I get myself into a meat coma, and then I come down here and get comfortable and start to doze off and try not to fall asleep while I'm answering some questions.
Right. What about you, Jacob? What you been into, man?
No, it's about similar. I've got a day off from the smokehouse, so I'm trying to recover from most of the meat sweats. And Ryan, I don't know where you are in Wisconsin exactly, but is it 70 degrees, sunny, nice, cool breeze? It is. It's one of the best days I've ever seen in a long time. I got buddies out on the golf course, and I'm a little jealous. But
no, it's 50s over here.
It's 50s.
Yeah,
that's even
We're
better.
not that far apart. I don't know.
How big is Wisconsin, man?
I'm 4 hours away from you, aren't I?
Yeah.
I'm right on the border.
That line there, yeah.
It's 70 and sunny here, man. It's nice.
Well, hey, since we're just talking about the weather and everything else, I want to share the screen here real quick, guys. Look at this right here. Can you see this?
Ooh.
Look at this, Ryan. I got to ask you, man. And for those of you on the pod, we're showing some meat that Pack Daddy grilled up here. Ryan, how often do you get complimented on your meat, bro? Just curious.
Well, I honestly, I'm a little embarrassed by the sear. I couldn't. It was so freaking juicy. I couldn't dry it off enough to get a good sear on it, but it's good enough, and it doesn't really matter. The beef is so flavorful, anyways. It was still good, but not nearly that much. My wife is a vegetarian, and the kids are so freaking.
Forget about that.
They'll eat it. They'll be like, "Yeah, it's good," but then it's like, "Okay, can I have pancakes or something now?" It's like, you know what? So now it's just like, here, try a piece, and then get out of here so I can eat all of this by myself. So it used to really piss me off like a lot because it's like you guys don't appreciate how great this is, but now it's like, you know what? I'm going to eat this whole freaking thing by myself, and I don't care that nobody else is going to share it with me. You know, I get a little thumbs up, like, you like it? Yeah, good. You want something else? Yeah, sweet. Go eat a freaking ham sandwich. I'm going to eat the rest of this by myself.
So here's what's crazy. So your wife's a vegetarian, right?
Yep.
Guys, we're getting ready to enter an election cycle here next year, okay? If a vegetarian and Ryan Schlip can be married, we can all get along on social media, all right? Let's prepare ourselves. It's funny, dude. I don't know if I told you this story, Ryan, but I got challenged to a vegan challenge one time. And it was one of my good friends' wife, and she was like, there's no way that you can last a month going vegan. There's no way. And I love meat. But I love proving people wrong way more than me, right? I'm like, I'm in, dude. Sign me up. So we get into this thing. It's a vegan challenge, right? She made it 3 weeks. Now, when I say vegan, she was trying to stay completely vegetarian. She made it 3 weeks. I smoked her. Bro, I made it 2 months just to prove a point, right? What? And I'm telling you, dude, when I got off that vegan challenge or what have you, as Ryan preaches up here, I literally, they asked me, hey, how was it? I said, don't tell Amanda, dude. Don't you dare tell her. But this is the best I've felt in a long freaking time. Like, I felt absolutely amazing, dude, coming off a vegan diet. It was wild. But anyway, that's the way it is. So, Jacob, you look like a vegan over there, dude, working in the smokehouse.
Yeah. I don't eat anything with a shadow. I'm a level 5 vegan. Anything that casts a shadow, I don't eat. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Pretty intense.
We got everybody in the chat here. We got Dakota. Says, I guess. I don't know how you say that. How do you pronounce that there, Jacob?
Say again?
That's my man down here in Tennessee.
Hey, I think that's Dakota's. Hey.
Yeah. Is it A? Is that how you say that, Ryan? Is that right?
I think so, yeah. Something like that.
Tyler says he's been waiting for this Paul all week, man. That's a
all right. And then Tyler in the chat says, been waiting for this pod all week. Tyler, you need, bro, if you've been waiting on us, we got to get you some friends. We're going to we're gonna
You guys
hire
say
some
elevated
fans
shine.
too.
I actually have heard that vegan, like, if you take a break, especially if you eat a lot of meat, going 3, 4, 5 months, it's supposed to really reset your liver, your whole body system. But I love meat. There's no way I could never just go that way. But hey, good for you, elevated shine. I've known some people that like it.
Heck yeah. All right. So also in the chat, Tyler says this is the first time he's ever been complimented on his meat, Clayton. That's why you read the chat before you post them. My bad, guys. I probably shouldn't have threw that one up there. That's all good. We got Rob in the chat. Hey, guys, what are your thoughts on Sean Clifford? As Ron will be back here in a second. He's having a few connection issues. What are your thoughts on Sean Clifford? Have a Packer fan who says he's not going to be a starter in the NFL because he's not good enough to start on any NFL team. This is the way I see Sean Clifford. I'm not going to sit here, Rob, and pretend like, man, I seen that one coming. He's a great quarterback, blah, 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 right? The Packers, the fact that they took him when they took him in the draft says a lot. It really does. They really, really value those undrafted free agents that they potentially sign every year, right? So they value those late round picks. The fact that they drafted him knowing they have Danny Etling that could back up Jordan Love. Understand, if we don't know how good this team's going to be with Jordan Love at the helm until we see Jordan Love, kind of under pressure, which I think he's going to surprise a lot of people personally. If we don't know what he's going to look like as a starting quarterback, how in the world are we going to know what Danny Etling looks like, right? Meaning you're not expecting to win games with any backup that you bring in, right? So it would have been real easy to just say, hey, look, we're going to move forward with Danny Etling as the backup this year. And then if for some reason, he doesn't pan out, he being Jordan Love, then we'll draft the quarterback next year and move forward with a contingency plan, right? So the fact that they took Sean Clifford in the draft and spent one of those precious, draft picks on him, there's two schools of thought, Rob. I guess the best way to answer it. They think highly of him, right? Or there's 2 points, I should say. They think highly of him, but also you're getting that 4-year minimum contract at the quarterback position. And look around the league at what backup quarterbacks cost you. It can be really expensive. Ryan, what's been your take coming out of camp when it comes to Sean Clifford, man? Do you feel like he's meh, or do you think that he might have impressed the coaches enough that I think he's going to make the roster, no doubt about it. The question is going to carry 3. I can't imagine they would carry 3, so he's going to be the backup. But what's your take on him, man?
I mean, it sounds like he's doing a good job, but I mean, it's such a small sample of everything, and it's OTAs. And so, I mean, the grand scheme of what I've seen is maybe like 5 comments about he connected on a pass. So I don't know. I think it's cool that he's coming in. I liked his college tape. Everybody said he's not even an NFL caliber guy. I kind of liked him. He had some Brett Favre in him. He's got some guts. He has some, he's scrappy, and he's doing those like sidearm throwing on the, I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. As far as what we've seen in OTAs, basically nothing, but it's been, right. I don't want to say flawless. I don't think I've heard anything bad, but I would borderline say that that's pretty normal for the third string guys playing with third string guys. They're playing freaking catch out there. So I don't know what else there is to say about it.
Right. What about you, Jacob? You excited about Sean Clifford? What do you think?
I am actually a little, well, as Ryan knows, I'm a sucker for the late round guys, the underdogs. And to me, like you said, the placement is the Packers decided he was worth a 5th round pick. That I'm not as smart as the Packers front office. I know you said you are, and I know Ryan said he's in. So like they've seen something that tells them that was worth a draft pick. I mean, that's a fairly decently high draft pick for a guy that most people thought would be undrafted, right? So a lot of times, right away, they said, well, it has to be because of his knowledge. He's a great backup. He's a clipboard backup quarterback. But like Ryan said, you look at the tape, he's got athleticism. He's got a good arm. He seems like he reads defenses, as I believe it looks like Tyler talked about. He's watching him for a long time. Says that he's a high-quality guy. He started his own NIL agency, and he learned 4 different offenses in college. So if that's the case, it shows that he's very adept to learn quickly, to adjust. He's got a good sense of athleticism on him. I don't know if you guys have read, but there's been apparently a lot of good notes on him in the OTAs saying that he basically took a 2-minute offense, ran it down the field, looked really, really good. And everybody's like, well, that's what Penn State, like almost making excuses as to why he looks so good, to just cover their asses for not giving him any credit. And they're like, well, that's what they do at Penn State. It's basically like a 2-minute offense. It's like, okay, so Yeah, it's kind of like how Ryan was talking about, like stupid Colin Cowherd, how he's like, yeah, 5 headlines, 3 out of the 5 are amazing, so I think he's gonna suck. And it's like, wait a minute, so you just watched him do good, and your evaluation is that he's gonna okay, right?
It's hilarious, dude.
How can I pay for your subscription, Colin? That's a great take.
Yeah. Tyler in the chat said, loves that Pac Daddy's mic is invisible. Man, he's got all the new technology, bro. He's got the robot.
I got invisibility, bro. What you know about that?
He's got the AI kid voice behind him. It's awesome.
Ryan, let's hear it, dude. I mean, they brung it up to talking about your boy Colin Cowherd. I know you're a big supporter. You support him on Patreon. You subscribe to his Twitter and all the whole 9 yards, man. I was watching that. I don't know if it was live, but maybe they do a replay. I don't know, but I actually seen that segment, and I remember sitting there going, "What the hell are we even talking about? Is he talking about headlines?" Like, right. and I'm like you. I came away going, "Isn't that positive? Is that a positive headline?" Like, what? Anyway,
he was so dug in on he's making strides, and I'm like, "Yeah." He's making strides. I've never dropped somebody so fast. I try to be positive, but he's making strides. I'm out of here. It's year 4. Well, everybody makes strides, you dummy. What are you talking about?
Especially this time of year too, because all the information coming out of camp, it doesn't matter what they say, right? You know, you got Michael Lombardi and other people making fun of coaches because they say this player's light years away, that player's light years ahead, ahead. Everybody's doing great, right? And then you've got LaFleur who says we need to curb the enthusiasm. Right. We need to, he's making strides, nothing over, and they make fun of that. Oh, not make fun of it, but it turns into, they're going to have a horrible year. Jordan Love sucks. It's like, it doesn't matter what they say. The media will find a way to pick it apart. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's a good point too, because I talked about this like last year when we went through this period. You got to learn the coaches because they all have their own style. Like Jerry Montgomery, pretty much everybody sucks. Like it doesn't matter who you're talking about. Jerry Montgomery's just like, he's got to work on some stuff. He's got some work to do. Like he will never let anybody get a big hit. It's just his style, He's just got his way of dealing with stuff. Matt LaFleur does the same thing with tempering expectations. But if you ask Gutekunst about it, he's a little bit more positive. If you ask, it just depends who you're asking and their style when they're addressing their players or whatever. Some guys, who was that Smith that was our pass rush coach? Remember that guy last year? He's in Minnesota now. Yeah, that dude, you ask him about any of his pass rushers, they are the Hall of Fame greatest you've ever seen. It's just the way that they talk. So, yeah, they're spinning nonsense about nonsense. That's just how Matt LaFleur talks about stuff. Like, yeah, he's doing fine, but, he's got some stuff to work on too. That's his answer for everybody.
Right. Absolutely. Under promise, over deliver, dude. It's
exactly.
And you want to keep that locker room even kill. The people that show a lot of emotion, they're not, the first people that come to mind, and typically that's the most honest answer you can give or most honest response, most organic, I should say. Rex Ryan was extremely emotional, right? Dude was always fiery. He was always, we're going to kick everybody's rear end, blah, blah, blah. How long did he last as a head coach? That's right. He's on ESPN. Who's another one? Mike Zimmer. Everybody was so fired up about Mike Zimmer. Heck of a defensive coach. Did great things in Cincinnati. He gets hired on as a head coach in Minnesota, tries to bring that whole boisterous, fiery, just going to cuss everybody out, chew their rear end. Where's he at? He's in the unemployment line to the best of my knowledge. Like that does not make for a good head coach. What makes for a good head coach is identifying what your strengths and weaknesses are, maximizing your strengths, minimizing your weaknesses, curbing expectations, and keeping people focused on what the freaking goal is, which is to get better each and every day.
And there's
which
also
is what elevated. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's also an element of like act like you've been there. You know what I mean? That's the same with Romeo Dobbs when he answers questions. Like he made a big play and he's just like, yeah, that's what I do. Like it's not a big deal. Matt LaFleur's the same thing. Like, yeah, he's fine. He's doing a good job. Like it's just his demeanor and the way that they go about things. The Packers have high expectations. Everybody's expected to be elite, but nobody's there yet, right? Because we expect perfection and nobody's. So of course everybody's got stuff to work on. It's a good attitude to have, and trying to spin that into even the Packers know he's terrible is the dumbest crap I've ever heard in my life.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree, man. Elevated Shine in the chat said plant-based, been plant-based whole food vegan for 3 years. It's been great. My man's selling us that TB12 method there. Tyler in the chat says my weekly workday getaway. We appreciate you hanging out with us, man. And here's the guy I've been looking for. Dakota is in the chat. This is what we call this. The guy we call the Kale King. He said, I'm excited about this plant-based diet talk. I bet now Dakota's is he outside of Memphis? Am I thinking right?
He's
Ryan?
in Tennessee. Yeah. Dakota, you can't eat chewing tobacco, just so you know that. All right. It's not the same thing.
My man's on a Levi Garrett diet. I love
it. He's in Memphis, Tennessee on a plant-based diet.
Hey, I bet he's got a garden down there.
God.
I bet he's got a garden.
Bro, there's no
gardens.
He
might have something else in that garden that we're not going to talk about.
I was going to say, never mind. All right.
Tyler in the chat said, I've watched Clifford for years, lived 20 miles from Beaver Stadium. Sean is a real good and serviceable quarterback and a high-quality character man. Started his own NIL agency, learned 4 offenses in college. That's what you were referring to, Jacob. That's freaking huge, man. You got to do more research when you're looking at some of these young players. As I learned, I took it on the chin this year with several of the draft picks by not digging back just 1 year deeper. But when you, one of the things that allowed Will Levis to be drafted as high as he was, whether you agree with it or not, the Titans thought he was a borderline first-round pick, was the fact that he had so much success the year before, and then they changed coordinators and they struggled. Now, me being a Kentucky fan, I tried to keep my opinion out of the whole Levis conversation, right? I didn't want anything to come across as bias, but I'll tell you this. That offense last year, it was blatantly obvious that they were trying to protect Will Levis and they weren't turning him loose like they were the year before where he was trying to prove it. What I mean by that is being more aggressive, running the ball as a quarterback, design runs, boots, things like that. It was really strange. And I sat through that South Carolina game where Will Levis didn't even play. And I was like, this offense is lost. They are absolutely lost. So just an example there, though, of how you can take a player and make them go through, like you said, learn 4 different offenses in college. The dude never had a chance. But what did the Packers see? They seen a high-character guy who had some traits, and his teammates absolutely loved him. What'd you say, Jacob?
No, I was just going to mention that Tyler Sipple, is correct. Clifford said he's the only 4-time captain in Penn State history. That means something, and I agree. That's out of 4 different, if that's correct, probably 4 different coaching schemes or 4 different OCs, something like that. That's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
and this is a great point here in the chat. Donald K says, don't forget about the new rule this year that allows it easier to carry 3 QBs. So if I understood correctly, that quarterback won't count as a roster spot, which means they can keep that rookie contract intact. So it might be something where you actually, he's 3rd on the depth chart, but they are carrying that 3rd quarterback. That's a really, really good point, Donald. Do you know the specifics of that rule, Ryan? Because I never dove deep into it to understand it completely as far as how that works carrying that 3rd. The last I heard, it wouldn't count as an active. Is that right?
That would be my understanding, yeah, and it's just because they don't want the disaster that happened in the playoffs to happen again. Which it's gonna, dude. If you lose all your quarterbacks, it's gonna suck either way. I don't care if it's your punter playing quarterback or your 4th string quarterback. You're done and you're out of the playoffs. But I understand the spirit of the rule, I guess.
So we're calling it the 49er rule, or what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Tyler in the chat said he really cleaned up his boneheaded decisions and turnovers last season. I'm assuming he's talking about Clifford. Well, it's pretty freaking awesome that this turned into the 5th round pick show, right? Like I am the dork that enjoys these kind of conversations, right? Let's see here. So, okay, Don Zimmer is evidently, or did I say Don Zimmer? What's his name? It's not Don Zimmer. That's the dude Pedro threw down on the ground, right?
Mike?
Yeah. Mike Zimmer, there it is. Yeah. And it's not Simmer either. Simmer down now. At Colorado with Deion Sanders. That's pretty cool. So he's the defensive coordinator, I would imagine, with Deion. Well, I'll tell you what, Deion is fast tracking his way, Ryan, into a head coaching job, bro. In the NFL. It's coming. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry Jones calls him in the next few years. I really would. All right, cool. Let's see here. Let's move on to one of our first topics, and then we'll get back to the chat here, guys. So Andy Herman had a tweet, Ryan, and I'm gonna pull it up. I'm not gonna share the screen so it don't slow down the connection. I'm just gonna read it to you guys. He had quote tweeted one of his old tweets around the same time, I guess, to get all the information in one tweet. He said a huge reason the Packers didn't have more success in 2022 when winning the turnover battle. In 2019, they were 9-0. 2020, they were 10-1. When 2021, they were 11-0. In 2022, they were 3-2. They didn't win the turnover battle anywhere near enough and didn't win enough when they did. So the tweet that he quote tweeted, he said, Packers in the Matt LaFleur era, if you win the turnover battle, they're 33-3.
He stole my
tie the turnover battle, they're 11-5. If you lose the turnover battle, they're 5-14. Jordan Love's ability to limit turnovers in his first season is going to be a massive for the Packers in 2023. I completely agree with that, man. It's something I've been talking about on my pod a lot. There's going to be three aspects. Really, there's probably 3 to 4 aspects that's really going to come into play here, Ryan, this year. Obviously, turnover differential, but another thing is motion, right? But if we can control the turnover differential, right, and we use more motion like we all want, like we've all talked about, right? Now that Aaron's gone, you would think they're going to lean a little more on some of those motion packages. And we're not talking about shifts. We're talking about motion. One of the things that Greg Cosell talked about the other day, I was listening to his pod, and if I understood correctly, last year in the NFL, when teams used motion, their touchdown to interception ratio was 4 touchdowns to 1 interception. When they didn't use motion, it dropped all the way down to 2 touchdowns to 1 interception ratio. So you're talking about, I don't know what the exact percentage would be there in reduction of turnovers, but us using motion and Jordan Love just playing within the system and protecting that football, that's got to be the key to this season, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that is a concern of mine with Jordan is, I talk about inconsistency, but that's a big part of what I'm talking about is, I mean, he looks really, really good, but, I mean, one minor mistake, I mean, you miss like the Chiefs game. I mean, he was off by this much on a pass, and it was a pick instead of a touchdown that won the game. So, I mean, it's a big deal, and him protecting the ball is going to be important. Then obviously the defense needs to do their end as well. You can't win the turnover differential if you don't take the ball away. So I was just looking at it out of curiosity because, as we know, the defense kind of did turn things around after our bye week. It was just 4 games, but I was looking at it, and the only time we got more than 3 interceptions happened in 2 of those 4 games. We had 4 against Miami and 4 against the Vikings. So I'm sure that also played a big part in that. So, yeah, I mean, it's just on both sides, and that's a well-known thing with turnover differential. I mean, that's a massive for all teams, probably for all time. If you lose the turnover differential, you're going to have a hard time winning a game. So, yeah, I mean, the defense has to do its part, and hopefully Jordan can play. And I think it's going to be a relatively conservative offense, but still, I mean, he likes to take those shots once in a while, as we know. And I know he can do it, but you just hope that it doesn't bite us a little bit too much. Don't err too much on the Favre side of things. Let's try to keep it a little bit more Rodgers.
Absolutely. The podcast that dropped today for Packers Total Access, I actually did a deep dive into the history of the West Coast offense, and it actually goes a lot deeper than Bill Walsh. It goes all the way back to the 1950s. And it actually started off with Sid Gilman and Don Coryell. And for those of you who don't know, you may the term that may come to mind is Air Coryell. He created an offense that was a vertical passing attack. That's the offense that the West Coast offense stemmed from, and I'm not going to go back through that talk. But the thing I want to point out as you were saying that is within almost every single play in the West Coast offense, there's always a deep shot. And that deep shot typically is the first progression. You snap the ball, is the deep shot there? If it's not, okay, what are the safeties doing? Next eye adjustment, and work your way through the progression. Jacob, based off all that we just said, what do you think about Jordan's ability to protect the football? We know that in college, that last year, that was a big knock, right? That he threw interception. Yeah. But when you've seen him, come in for the Packers, to me, he seemed like he had good command, good accuracy, and was able to get the ball out on time. Other than the Chiefs game where they blitzed everybody but their grandma. I mean, what do you think about Jordan's ability there?
I love Jordan's ability, and I think that we're judging this on a small sample size. And real quick, sorry, Matt Ramage is in the chat. Thomas Austin is in the chat. Just so you guys know,
Matt Ramage.
Basically, when I was listening, I want to say it was Andy Herman's podcast earlier this week when they talked about basically Jordan Love having to be that gatekeeper. So the difference between we're going from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, but what type of Aaron Rodgers is going to what type of Jordan Love? So we don't know what that jump or dump off or degrade, if you want to call it that, will be. Rodgers, we talked about that, Clayton, about his inefficiency over the middle of the field. Dusty Evely kind of contradicted that in certain ways and affirmed that in certain ways.
Yep.
So now we're going ahead and we're going to the unknown. And it's just, I don't exactly have much expectations. I think that, like what Andy Herman said, is basically if Jordan Love goes in there and he learns how to protect the football, which he is, he's been behind Rodgers for a good 3-4 years, where it's like if he's going to learn anything, I'd rather, like Ryan said, I'd rather him be more shaded towards the Aaron Rodgers version of the Brett Favre version.
Yes.
But that being said, I mean, I really do think that I have a lot of hopes for the guy. And I do think that he is going to be a very good quarterback in this league. And there's a lot of indications to see why. And there's a lot of indications to see why he, I'm not going to say he's going to be better than Rodgers. It's such a blanket statement. In certain situations this year, for what's happening versus last year, I think he's going to be very much better in a lot of different ways. Chemistry, just overall camaraderie, willingness to be wrong. The willingness to be wrong in a man is such a huge thing that, like, you know, people take for granted. But we have a 37-year-old man who's like, I'm set in my ways. I do what I do, get off my grass. And then you got a new guy that's like, I'm willing to learn. And I'm willing to accept that I'm not the most perfect finished product. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And I think that he's going to be a really, really good quarterback.
Yeah, it's the same transition we've seen from Brett to Aaron. You know, when Aaron came in, it was like, okay, it's almost like the pressure went off the entire offense because first of all, nobody's expecting you to do anything close to what Brett did in his career. And then on top of that, with Brett, you know, there at the end, I think people were pressing, like, we want to get him another ring. He wants to get another ring, obviously, kind of solidify his place in football history. When that reset happens, now all of us, notice I didn't say rebuild, I said reset. When that reset happens, then a lot of pressure comes off everybody, right? It's like, okay, nobody's expecting us to flip this league up on its head. But Matt Ramage, if you're still in the chat, I sent you a link on Twitter. If you want to hop in here and tell us why we're wrong about everything we're talking about, you feel free to do so.
Can you read Thomas Austin's just
line? I'm getting to it. Dakota in the chat said plant-based allows for meat, and I do have a garden. We know you do, yes, you veg.
I know you do, Dakota.
You do. And then we got our boy King of the Hill, DJ Key. Y'all want me to do my Boone Howard voice real quick?
Yeah.
He says, my guys, go Pack Go. We appreciate you hanging out with us, man. We got Tyler back in the chat says, Clifford is only 4-time captain in Penn State history, which Jacob hit on just a second ago. That means something. That does mean something. It does. And I'm going to tell you right now, somewhere Zadarius Smith is jealous as all get out. I promise you that, being a captain on that team.
Andy's in the house.
I don't know if this is serious or not, Ryan. Ken Wayne says, I'm on an all rhubarb diet. That can't be right. Right. It can't be.
Rhubarb is good for you, man.
What's it taste like, Jacob? There's a lot of stuff good for you, but you can't stomach it, right?
I don't know. Pie? My grandma made rhubarb pie. Amazing.
You've never had rhubarb, have you?
Never.
My man.
Actually, you know what? They used to dip it in like sugar cane, and then we'd eat it, but I would never do that. But anyway.
Gotcha. Okay, so Donald K points this out. He would count as part of the 53, he being a third quarterback, but not the game day roster spot. See, that makes things tricky. Okay. That makes things real tricky because, you know, if you're going to count, Danny Etling towards the 53, I just don't see that happening. Do you, Ryan? With that rule being clarified,
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Again, with the injury thing, but you're not really protecting yourself. I mean, just like with Aaron, if your quarterback goes down, you're done. That's the bottom line. So, What are you protecting?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Andy Monday in the chat. Now, this is going to make my head hurt. All right, he said, "My meat all comes from a plant, a meat packing plant." I'm telling you, dude. Some of your listeners, Ryan. I know we're getting a lot of sightings of these alien aircraft everywhere now. Everybody's talking about. I believe Andy may be one. And when they do finally land and try to take over, just go to Dakota's farm. Just stay away from the tall plants because he's got those booby trapped. I promise you that. Okay, stay away from the tall ones. Rob Turbo in the chat says, "I'm curious as if Matt LaFleur is on the hot seat this year. He needs to step up and be a coach. It seems when he had Aaron Rodgers, well, I never know if people are trying to be funny. He was scared to confront him. Now Aaron is gone. He needs to step up and throw a clipboard or his headphones and let his cut out there. I can't see the rest of it there. I guess you used too many characters. Let's go back to the chat.
I'm worried about where that was going anyway.
It ended with a P. I didn't like that, man.
That's why anyway, I got cut off.
The gist of I'm trying to see where it left off here because it won't post the whole thing. I'm just going to say halfway through here, Matt just seems to be complacent and scared to raise his voice and be confrontational. I bet Bill Belichick didn't mince words on the sidelines when he was upset with his players underperforming when he knows they are capable of playing better than what they have been in the game. I will tell you this: there's plenty of footage of Bill Belichick absolutely eating, Tom Brady's lunch in practice, going, "I can't stand it, Brady. Run it again, run it again." You definitely didn't see that with Matt LaFleur, did you, Ryan?
No, I mean he's a much more positive buddy kind of guy, which I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, there's a time and a place for that, but if guys aren't doing it, you got to let them know. And yeah, Bill Belichick, I like Bill Belichick because he wasn't just screaming; it was just disgust. The look on his face is, "You are just the biggest piece of crap. Like, I can't wait to get you out. I'm gonna go talk to somebody. Oh wait, I'm the GM. Yeah, you're gone. This is so stupid." So and you got to have that, man. You can't just be everybody's buddy, and it can't, be smart. Shut up, dude. Just tell him to get off the field and sit down until he figures out how to stop being an idiot or something. I don't know. I just wish he had a little bit more spit and fire or whatever you call it. And what would you, Clayton? Give me a Claytonism for that.
Yeah, a Claytonism for what? What? Give me. You got to give me
be a little bit more.
A little more brash.
Fire in his belly.
Yeah. Fire in his belly.
A little more
tobacco in the pipe. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. Yeah, there it is. That'll work.
Exactly it. Yeah.
You can't say tobacco. You got to say tobacco.
Tobacco.
Jacob, I know you would be a big fan of Matt LaFleur just hitting people with coolers and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Just once. He's got a helmet. I'll hit him with a cooler.
I couldn't tell you how many times during the post-game show that Jacob was like, I cannot stand to look at Matt LaFleur tonight. I can't do it. He's at the podium talking.
He just looks like such a little sissy boy. You know what I mean? Like, I think that everybody really tried their best, and everybody really did. When it's just emotional and everything. It's like, speak up, man. Like, gee, I want him to go Sam Kinison. Just start screaming at people.
That'd be great.
Please, man.
I love it, dude, because when, Mike McCarthy, I was a big Mike McCarthy fan, and I'm not suggesting that they shouldn't have fired him. I think I can understand why it happened. I really can. I'm not saying that, hey, that's what I would have done, but I understand why it happened. But I do remember a couple of times looking at that sideline and going, the guys can't respect him. Like, he doesn't, he doesn't look like he could run a mile right now. And he's telling these guys, lay your body out there and all of this and that. And then when they hired Matt LaFleur, I'm going, how did we go from Mike McCarthy, who looked like he could do a healthy keg stand, right, to a guy that looks like Zoolander? You know what I mean? Like, how did we do this? How did we get here? How do we go from Mike McCarthy to a male model? It just blows my mind. But Andy in the chat says, go ahead, Jacob. What'd you say? You flashing blue still over there? All right. Andy in the chat said, yes, the rhubarb and strawberry pie. I can't believe we're doing a live podcast and we're talking about rhubarb. It's unbelievable. I miss pick your own strawberry farms. They aren't a thing while being stuck in Kansas. We've got a couple strawberry farms around here, but it ain't pick your own, man. I know Scott's farm up here in Unicoi. You go to Unicoi, it's like the cradle of civilization, baby. You go picking your own strawberries in their fields, you're getting shot. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to happen. We got it says super chat. I guess it is a super chat on your end there. Thomas Austin says
super chat. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I don't even know. How would you read this, guys? Ryan, you're way wittier than me. How would you explain this on the pod?
So, all right. Thomas Austin, thank you for the super chat. If that's real, I don't know. Maybe you just typed in super chat 4.99. Anyways, Packers are better than broccoli, which is better than the Vikings, which is better than rhubarb, which is better than dirt, which is better than manure, which is better than worms inside of dirt.
No,
which is
less
better
than worms inside of dirt. He switched it.
Jacob,
you're right.
All right. Which is better than the Bears, which is better than Justin Fields, which is better than Colin Cowherd.
I can't argue with that logic. That's pretty spot on.
It's math.
Yeah, good stuff. And Matt Ramage, of course, in the chat just said, "Yo, he's probably drunk. He disappeared." I sent him a message saying, "Hey, hop on. He's got better things to do. He might be posting bond right now. Who knows?" So, Tyler in the chat says, "Teams who win turnover battle win 78% of the time since 2007." There's another stat too, Tyler. I don't know if you can find it or not. If you do, post it in the chat. Where if you have a turnover differential of +2, it goes up to like almost 90% or maybe above. That's one of the stats that I use when I'm putting a little action on the game on Sundays. John Dorn in the chat says, Rodgers was scared to throw in the middle of the field. Love has no problem throwing in the middle of the field. Jacob kind of hit on it there. We heard a lot of that grumbling last year that Rodgers won't go to the middle of the field. He won't go to the middle of the field. And I posted a ton of plays where he attacked the middle of the field. And Dusty kind of stood on that table as well. When Dusty ran back the numbers, it was indeed correct. I think he was like towards the very, very bottom of the league of throwing to the middle of the field. So I had that completely wrong. Although there were plenty of plays where they ended up being positive plays in the middle of the field, which suggests you should probably take more shots at the middle of the field. I don't think he was scared to throw in the middle of the field. I think that all quarterbacks have different strengths and weaknesses. Not that Rodgers' weakness would be thrown to the middle of the field, but his strength was definitely using the sideline, using the boundary. We loved it when he was doing it with Jordy, right? And James Jones and all those guys, those back shoulder throws and all that. But, over the last couple of years, obviously that stuff kind of dried up. You don't have Jordy working the boundary anymore. So, yeah. In the chat, we've got Rob says, I think Jordan Love will be blitzed a lot this season.
Yes.
You know what, Rob? I hope they do. Because there's nothing that's more frustrating for me than watching Aaron Rodgers over the last few years and everybody just playing that too high shell and him being so protective of the football, man. You would just kind of hit that wall, right? You were still going to the RPO because you thought you had a pre-snap hat count, but yet when the play developed and you threw the ball, they were all over the RPO. I miss the days of, I don't know if you remember this, Ryan, but when they won the Super Bowl back in 2010, I think they were blitzed almost more than anybody, and he had the highest completion percentage in the entire league on third down against the blitz. But teams stopped doing that. What do you think? You think Jordan Love will get blitzed a lot this year?
Well, I did talk about that. I think it's possible that they're going to try that. They're going to look at what happened with Kansas City and say it seemed like it worked. But the bottom line is, if it works, they're going to keep doing it. If it doesn't, they won't. So it'll last as long as Jordan Love. Until Jordan Love is able to tear that up. So the first time somebody blitzes and we throw for 40 yards, that ain't going to happen anymore. So we might see it briefly and then it'll go away just as soon as they take it. And the thing is, the Packers are going to expect that.
Yeah.
And I think the way that the offense is set up, it's set up to beat that. So I understand that people saw the Kansas City game and think, well, we're just going to get blitzed all the time. It's going to be a failure. There's no way. They're going to be ready for it. And as soon as it happens, we're going to tear it up and they're going to back off.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan in the chat says, yo. Wise words there from our boy Jonathan.
Yo.
John Doran says, Love will be more aggressive. Rodgers was more conservative. You got to be careful, though, John. You got to be careful what you wish for, because the thing that we loved about Rodgers and the reason he won so many games as a starting quarterback, he being, his team winning so many games with him as starting quarterback, is we've won that turnover differential a large majority of the time. If we start losing that turnover differential, you're going to see this thing spiral pretty quickly. I want him to be aggressive, absolutely, when the time's right. It's just knowing those spots and doing it at the right time. What do you think, Jacob? Would you rather a quarterback be based off of what we've seen in the last, let's say, 4 years? And I know there's a couple MVP seasons mixed in there too. Would you rather Jordan Love be more aggressive than Rodgers based off of the last 4 years, or would you rather him be more conservative, about the same? What do you think's that good spot there?
Man, I'm going to take the cop out and just go an equal half. I want him to understand that those 4 years that he sat were for a reason. They're for him to learn, be a sponge, absorb the good things. And what we look at, what did Rodgers do when he looked at Brett Favre? He said, okay, I got that gunslinger mentality, but I'm going to be a little more smarter with where I force that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then with Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers knew how to use his legs a lot better than Mr. Brett Favre would, and that's no doubt. So I'm thinking Mr. Jordan Love, I don't remember what his 40 time was. He's not crazy RAS, right? But he's gifted enough that if he needs to get himself out of a pickle, he can do that. So I guess I would learn from the things that Rodgers did that you accept and you really like, and then just tweak the little things. So maybe what he's tweaked after learning from him is that maybe I need to let it go a little more, less conservatively. Like if there's a gap there, I need to hit it. Jordan Love was not afraid to throw deep balls in college, and people I know are bashing him, saying that like the only success he has in the NFL is throwing kind of shallow cross routes and stuff. Well, okay, what'd they go for? A 70-yard touchdown, 50-yard touchdowns? That's great. So take what you can give him. And I don't want him to just start reaching for stuff. So if Jordan Love, take what is given to you. I don't want him to start trying to be Aaron Rodgers. be your own quarterback, set your own base, accept what the Matt LaFleur system is, because we're all sitting here trying to diagnose what the actual Matt LaFleur offense looks like. We don't know because we've never had, and that's such a weird thing to say. It's like the offense is going to be dictated by who the quarterback is and their skill set, right? Absolutely. So like if you have Lamar Jackson and he's sitting in LaFleur's offense, and you have Pat Mahomes, like, yeah, that's a really different offense than whether or not you have like a Jordan Love or a Matt Stafford or Jared Goff. Like, that's a completely different offense. It doesn't necessarily mean his offense is different. It's the person that's operating it is completely different. Their tool set's different. So that's where I'm at.
I agree, man. One thing you said there, Jacob, you were talking about the 40 time. Jordan Love ran a 4.65 40.
That's not bad, bro.
Aaron Rodgers ran a 4.75. Now think of Aaron when he was young. You know what I mean? I mean, seriously, he was quick. And Jordan Love's significantly better than the 40. Now, the 40 is not everything, but I would like to see a little RPR sprinkled into this offense. I would lose my mind if they mixed in some RPR boot where he's got the option to run. And I'm not talking about Jalen Hurts, on a A-gap run or a Josh Allen, design run. I'm not talking about that at all. Tyler in the chat says, can Jordan Love replicate what Jared Goff did last season? 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. I think so. Dang. Let's compare the people that they're throwing the football to, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? Would we say that Christian Watson is as good as Amon-Ra St. Brown? I don't think I would. Would you? No. Ryan?
I mean, okay. We'll see, but it would be a big jump because he is a legit top 10, potential top 5 wide receiver. So, I mean, Christian Watson, I think, is going to be good. I wouldn't pinhole him in that good of a range.
Yeah. So, based off of those numbers that Tyler just said, Ryan, 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7. I'll tell you this: if Jordan Love has those numbers, I think we're winning 10 games. But what do you think? Do you think he could hit those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the comment, I just did the math on it. It's like 250 yards a game. It's really not that bad of a stretch, and 29 touchdowns is certainly feasible. And again, the only thing is keep the interceptions low. And like you said, if he does that, if he does that, and we don't hit 10, we're looking at the defense. We're looking at something else went wrong, because that's completely adequate to be able to get this team to 10 wins.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, in the chat, we've got Sleedhead 50, I guess it's Sledhead 50. Said Rodgers carried us for 15 years. Jordan better be good. Now here's where I fall on that. I don't even want to say the name again because I'm afraid I'm going to say something inappropriate here. But to me, it's right in the middle. Rodgers carried us for 15 years. Jordan better be good, bro. He didn't carry the Packers for 15 years, in my opinion. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm the Grand Poobah of Packers talk here, right? But I'll say this, saying that Aaron Rodgers carried them for 15 years, then it means Greg Jennings was nothing, Jordy Nelson was nothing, Donald Driver was nothing, right? Eddie Lacy shouldn't have won Rookie of the Year. Charles Woodson, he was a non-factor, you know what I mean? Nick Collins, he was just a meh safety. A.J. Hawk, the all-time leading tackler in Packers history. Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews was just a bum too. Like, we got to be real here, man. I'm as big an Aaron Rodgers fan as you're going to find. But to pretend like one player is the reason a team has success or fails, a lot of people point out that Aaron didn't show up for that 49ers NFC Championship game, right, in the snow, which would have been the most magical win at Lambeau Field with the snowfall. Oh, my God. But, the people that say, no, Rodgers blew that game, he choked, whatever, we also had a punt block return for a touchdown. We just going to forget that? It's a team game, man. So I understand what you're saying. Rodgers is one of the greatest to ever do it. But I think it's a little bit strong saying he carried everybody for 15 years because there was enough blame to go around, especially in the last 5-6 years, even the last few years with McCarthy being there, nobody was perfect. That's for sure. Yep. Andy Monday in the chat said Coward's prediction of the Pack slipping back into their dark days of the 70s, 80s. I can see Ryan's neck getting red right now. Is absurd. Clayton, please do a PTA on the trades for, don't know that name. Haddle? What is that?
Haddle?
1975 and Mossy Cade. I feel like this is a prank. Who are these people? In 1986, that changed Green Bay history. See, you got me digging now. I'm gonna write that down, bro. I'm gonna look in to see if those names or not are real. It sounds like a couple people that live next door back home in Kentucky, to be honest with you.
Mossy Cade. That's my cousin.
Hey, Mossy Cade, boy, he knew where all the good squirrel hunting spots were back home.
Tamori's Mossy Cade is a former professional American football player who played safety first for the Memphis Showboats in the USFL in 1985, and then 2 seasons for the Green Bay Packers.
Of course.
Cow. It's real. Do me a favor, Jacob, while I'm going through these. Text me those 2 names because I've got to look that up, please. So I will forget. I promise. I appreciate you doing that. Got Nate in the chat dropping in. He says, "What's up, Clayton and Ryan? Appreciate you dropping through, Nate."
My chopped liver, Nate.
Yeah,
come on,
you, Jacob.
Yeah, screw you. What are you doing? Just text me those names, Jacob.
I'm trying.
Donald in the chat said, "Well, note rhubarb leaves are poisonous."
You gotta
I am
boil
not
them.
putting rhbarb in this title of this podcast. It's not happening. I know you are trying really hard. It's not going to happen. Let's see here. Sleedhead says, Gutsy is the first one who needs to be gone.
I hate Gutsy.
Goody. He's talking about Goody. Okay.
Gutsy's the
All right.
Yeah.
Piece of crap, Gutsy.
Let's scrap them all. Get Gutsy out of here, too. Heck with all of them. Tyler in the chat says, Pete Carroll is a very accomplished, known, very easygoing players coach. Players talk about how easy he is on guys. I'll say this about Seattle, man. I know a lot of people don't like the Seahawks and feel like that front office is overrated and this and that. What they did last year as a team collectively was pretty impressive. Watching them take that. Who's their offensive coordinator? He came from the Rams. Shane. I can't remember his last name. I think it's Shane Waldron. Is that right? Anyway, whoever the offensive coordinator is, he did a good job of taking what the defense was giving them. And so many empty sets that they ran blew my mind. Like they would come out on first down, 1st and 10. And keep in mind, this is from the McVay-Shanahan tree, right? And you would think there would be a lot of 21 personnel, this and that. They came out in empty gun. I couldn't tell you how many times last year. And you got to give Geno Smith credit, man. He really put it together. I probably shouldn't post this, but I will. Tyler in the chat says, every a-hole coach of recent times hasn't been successful. That's why Bill B's assistants aren't successful. Times have changed in the NFL. Don't know if publicly degrading players works still. I think that's true. I think it's a fair comment. I really do with today's society. But I will say this. Everybody in that building respects Bill so much. If you guys haven't seen it, there's a documentary. You can find it on YouTube for free. And it was the
Shane Waldron.
I'm trying to think. I think it was the comeback year when they came back and beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl, right? They were down, 28-3, whatever it was, right? If you could find that, it's America's Game or whatever it is, and they break down how they came back and how Bill Belichick at the last second had them put 2 extra 2-point conversion plays in. Last second, he just said, I feel like this is going to be a really close game. Let's put 2 extra 2-point conversion plays into the game plan. And it came down to that final play where they scored in overtime to win it was one of those two. They used their final 2-point conversion play. I can't do it justice trying to talk about it, but the reason Bill Belichick had the success he had, and to this day, I think is still a successful coach, is just his will to prepare, man. There's not a coach that's more prepared than that guy and more hands-on. A lot of people just see him as a defensive coach, and that is not the case. You can find all the NFL films you want of him and Brady, breaking down film and putting offensive game plans together, although he didn't get credit for it until the NFL films released that. Dakota in the chat says, Thomas Austin, I caught the DBZ abridged reference. What's he talking about, Ryan?
Something about Dragon Ball Z. I don't know.
So explain this to me. Let's go off cuff. What is Dragon Ball Z?
So the first time I read that, I thought it was like DMZ, like the demilitarized zone.
That's
I'm like,
literally what I was like. Don't get political, man. Ukraine's going.
And then I was like, oh wait, DBZ, that's Dragon Ball Z. Never mind. I never watched that. I have no idea.
Yeah, I can try to patch in my little brother. It's not cool. It's nerdy. It's from Japan. It's basically.
It's from Japan.
I know we're gonna get it killed probably in the comments.
You say
now.
Japan. Say it like that.
It's from Japan.
Hey,
it's I don't know what to say about it, man. It's cool.
We're gonna have to change the title now to, since you already said it, Jay. It's gonna be Rhubarb in Ukraine. That's what the title of the pod is. No.
Explicit warning.
Ryan, I can't tell you how prepared I am for 2024, bro. I know what's going to happen with this election, and I am going to keep my mouth shut, and I'm going to get along with everyone. They're going to get so I'm going to sound like Mr. Rogers, dude. They're going to get so tired of me being so polite because I can already tell it's building up. And I wasn't around for the last cycle, and I've heard the war stories. So I'm prepared, man. I'm already taking counseling. Elevated Shine says, go ahead.
This is my favorite comment. I just read the first half of it and started dying. Thomas Austin seems to know a lot about dirt.
Wait. Go ahead. Read the rest of the comment.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
After his cameo on draft night, seems like he fills a few holes to bury things. Oh, God.
Why did we read this? What the heck's wrong? Let's go on to the.
Is that like saying Thomas is a murderer? I think that's what it is.
I don't know if that's what he was saying or not.
I took it a different way at first, but you're right. That's probably what it is.
What I thought. He's murdering. You ever seen that movie with Denzel Washington and that weird guy from that band? Oh God, the small things, the little things. You ever see that movie?
Mm-mm.
You don't watch that movie. It's got like a 7. It's a great movie, but nobody quite knows how it ends. And everybody, when you ask them, they're like, "Yeah, I get it." And then you're like, "You don't get it, do you?" And they're like, "No. How did you think it ended?" And then so everybody has their opinion on how it ended. Watch it. I really would be interested. Thomas Austin. I'm sure The Little Things, starring Jared Leto, Denzel Washington. Or no, I'm sorry. Who's the other guy? Come on, Ryan.
Well, hold on.
They I think they won some sort of award for it. It's basically the ending is kind of like the end of like The Sopranos. Where like,
yeah.
You kind of just decide your own ending. And this is one of those where it's like, here we go. Thomas Austin. Exactly. Thomas Austin knows how did I guess this?
We'll get to it in a minute. CJ Byrne 27 says, anyone who hates Jordan Love because they loved A-Rod are probably the same losers who wore Favre Viking jerseys. I'm not saying I agree with this comment, but I know this. If you're one of those people that wore a Favre Viking jersey and you're a Packer fan, there is something very, very wrong with you. And we need Thomas Austin to dig a hole for you. In my mind. Thomas Austin in the chat actually dropped some knowledge here. He says, "Yee." All right, good stuff there.
Wow.
And then the next one says, Thomas Austin says, "Will we see more RPO?" I'll tell you what I think won't happen. We won't see a ton less. A lot of people are believing, okay, the RPO game is just going to disappear. I think the RPO game is here to stay. I think you're going to see some slight modification to it. The question is, does Jordan Love have a quick enough release, right, to run the RPO game? I think the answer is yes. But that was like Dusty Evely said, that was Aaron Rodgers' superpower, man. The way that dude could flick his wrist and get that ball out, that's why they lean on the RPO so much. I don't know, Ryan, what do you think? You think we're going to see more RPO or less or what?
I think so. I was looking at a video, one of the ones covering Jordan, and they covered how they actually ran that once or twice. I think it was in the preseason or something. And it's one of those things that you kind of forget, like, oh, yeah, we do have that little bit of athleticism there. We got some more options with him. And I think, again, especially early when people are sleeping on it, trying to convert that, 3rd and 2, and you pull that out of your back pocket. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit of that now that we have that element in our offense. So that'll be kind of exciting to see when they decide to bust that. I hope they do it against the Bears to win the game. That would just be so nice.
Absolutely, dude. Let's see here in the chat. We got Tyler. He chimes in. He says, +1 turnover differentials. The record is 888, 410, and 5, which is a winning percentage of 68.4%. +2 turnover differential is 699 and 150 all-time straight up, which is 82.3%. You get a +3, and you're at 91.4%. +4 goes to a 97.3%. I couldn't imagine the 2.7% that still lost the game.
Yeah, right.
Turnover differentials 4. I'm telling you, though, man, it sounds so simple. It sounds so just, well, let's just do that. It's not that easy. But turnover differential is really going to be the key this year, man. There's no doubt in my mind. All right. Garrett in the chat says ravioli cereal chat. Oh, God. Y'all bring up the ravioli cereal again. That was back when I was staggering around through Dakota's garden in my younger days. But what is worse to consider as a possible reality? Number 1, Bears with a winning record. Number 2, Colin Cowherd hosting the Green Bay draft of 2025. Number 3, being served ravioli cereal for Thanksgiving. Ryan, take it away, man.
I'll go with number 1. I don't want that. I'll deal with Colin and shoveling down some ravioli cereal.
Yeah, we'll put it this way: we'll pick number 1. But if Colin Cowherd is hosting the draft, we'll be throwing ravioli cereal at him.
Yes.
On the stage.
Oh, yeah.
We will find him here. Yeah. But as far as Thanksgiving, man, don't mess with Thanksgiving. Dude. That's one of my favorite holidays, bro. I'm all about some Thanksgiving. Andy in the chat says Favre has the most interceptions ever. Shock. Rodgers has the lowest interception percentage ever. Probability of those two being back-to-back quarterbacks on the same team is nearly impossible.
That is crazy.
Just don't hope Love is either. So, I don't know, man. I'm cool with taking shots when you need to. It's all a part of the West Coast offense. But I definitely don't want to go back to the Favre day. You remember that playoff game, Ryan, when we played the Rams? Did he throw 6 interceptions in that playoff game?
Oh, my God.
I think it was 2003.
Like toward the end of his career with the Packers, it was it felt like about 6 a game. It was probably only about 2, but it felt like it was just nothing but interceptions all the time. Every time the ball went in the air, it was like, oh, crap, here we go again. It's going to be another interception.
Yeah, no doubt. Rob in the chat says, do you think Jair Alexander will have over/under 5 picks this year? That was his total last year. I don't know, man. The way this defense operates, I don't think it's really set up for corners to get a lot of interceptions. You know, the way the Fangio, too high, cover 4, cover 6, look. I don't think, unless he's on the 2 side, and what I mean by that, when you run a cover 6 defense, half of the field is cover 4, the other half is cover 2. If he's on the cover 2 side, meaning his priority, his responsibility isn't to protect deep, then yeah, if that was his primary, responsibility in the defense. But unfortunately, with all the pre-snap motion and everything that goes on in the league today, that stuff can change in the blink of an eye, just with a little motion. What do you think, Ryan? Over under 5 picks for Jair. What would you take?
I'd love to be optimistic, but 5 is actually a pretty big number. I mean, I don't want to pull it up right now, but I'm guessing the number of people that had more than 5 or 5 or more was pretty low last year. So I'll say under, but I still think he has a pretty good year. If he has like 3-ish picks, I think that's still pretty solid.
Yeah, I love the way this conversation was steered to, like kind of getting into, what's going to create that turnover differential for us, right? And
rhubarb, yeah.
Yeah, and rhubarb as well, yes. And Ukraine and everything else. Rudy Ford, though, Rudy Ford playing safety all year long, if they stay with him, I think that you're probably going to get 1 or 2 more turnovers than you did last year, obviously, with him not starting going into the year. What do you think, Jacob? You think Jair can have more than 5 picks?
I do. It is disconcerting that he, again, if we want to talk about, again, the last week of OTAs and all that kind of stuff, again, Jair not there, Douglas not there, Garver not there. Nixon is back, so that's great. Guys like Tucker Kraft have been back. People that we haven't seen, moving around. It's encouraging, but that to me is not. I don't like that. I don't like that. If you are our best player, be there in our best times, which would be, to me, the offseason, so you can build rapport. Obviously, the defense is not the same as building chemistry with the offense. You're trying to, when you're a wide receiver quarterback, you're building chemistry. When you're a D-back, you're just trying to break up chemistry. So I get it to a way, but again, we have Jair, Douglas, and then Garvin. Again, Garvin. I can't stop harping on Jonathan Garvin. What are you doing?
Garvin go, bro.
What are you doing, Garvin? And I swear to God, if he makes the team, I'm just going to be like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to go to work for like a week and just hope I get hired.
Every time I hear Jonathan Garvin, I think of you. You guys remember that Saturday Night Live skit with Dan Aykroyd, Fred Garvin, male prostitute? Y'all ever seen that? Bro, have you seen it, Ryan? If not,
I don't know. I don't think so. It doesn't ring a bell.
You need to pull that one up. Put that one in the memory bank there. Sweethead 50 says Rodgers didn't have a tight end and a washed Cobb. That sounds bad, a washed Cobb, but so I will agree. He did not have a quality tight end or I don't want to say quality, a good tight end. I believe that, but he wanted Mercedes Lewis and he wanted Cobb. Like, who do we blame for that? That's one thing I can say about Goody. He did not shy away from that, did he? Like, he was just like, hey, Cobb's here because Rodgers wanted him.
Yeah.
basically said it. So Thomas Austin in the chat says, in Watson we trust. We're going to have to wrap this up, guys. We're going to rapid fire through these comments real quick. We want to read them all for you. So stop commenting. And I know Thomas Austin will be the troll that keeps commenting right here. John Dorn said, hope Packers throws a deep ball first play to Watson again against the Bears, just like last year. Dude, I'd be all about seeing another deep bomb there. Garrett in the chat says, I think Love, with the weapons he has on offense, will provide confidence to take more chances than what we have grown used to with Rodgers. I think he will take more shots than Rodgers did last year, for sure. And Andy Monday says, some hated Favre for the throws he made, some hated Rodgers for the throws he didn't make. Just have Love run the offense. Completely agree with that. Let me go through here. Shane Waldron was the OC in Seattle. Let's see. What are y'all laughing about, man?
The comment section.
Yeah, I see it now. It's never going to end, is it?
No,
man. You can't keep
we're just wrapping this puppy up, boys. I'm sorry. We got the most viewers right now than we've had all night, and we're just going to wrap this thing.
Sorry, Thomas.
Let's do this. Each of us pick one out. Ryan, read one of the comments. You're going to read one.
All right, I'll just go with 11-6 this year from Packer Fan 12. I'll just be nice.
God, what about mailing it in there? Jacob, pick one.
I can't help it. It's Garrett Streisel going ravioli cheese over Thomas Austin. Ravioli cereal over Thomas Austin.
Thomas Austin has been banned from the chat. I see this now.
Oh, man. Poor guy.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, ravioli cereal. It actually sounds kind of good.
Hey, 11-6 does sound good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Thomas Austin, of course. I'm going to go with that one. That's the last one we're going to wrap it up with. Thomas Austin says, ... Is a wash cob a bad thing, Clayton?
Yeah.
It is tonight, my friend. It is tonight. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Ryan, say something smart as we get off.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
I go have a good day. I don't know.
Nice.
Hey,
content.
spoken like a champion.
I have an actual good one real quick as we get out.
Hey, hold on. Don't ever, for any reason, ever, under any circumstance,
for any way,
ever. All right, just jump in. Yeah, just take it away.
In any situation, ever. So I will say, have a great night, guys. It's beautiful weather in Wisconsin. What I will say is, if you guys want to follow the PFP podcast, we're going to be starting to do a lot of mock drafts. What you can do, Packers, the Luke Musgrave, tight end 1, which is going to be a thing. He's falling to the absolute depths of hell in the draft king. And I'm talking, this guy is going to be having maybe a 20% target share with how we're looking at him in the offseason. There is maybe Tucker Kraft, and that's it. That's all. DeGuara maybe is going to steal a couple things, but what we're seeing from Musgrave running the tight end position is one of the most coveted positions in fantasy football. You either have Kelsey or you have Andrews, or else it's a complete crapshoot. If you can get Luke Musgrave in the 18th round, who's the guy that could be the number 1 tight end in Green Bay to get maybe 10 targets a game, who knows? Pick that guy absolutely every single time in your draft, 100%. That's all I'll say.
Boom. That's what you came for tonight, guys. Right there. That's what you came for. I'm going to share the screen here real quick, guys. Just want to share this. This is one of our own. This is a fellow Packer fan. Absolutely awesome dude. His name's Ryan. You can find him on Twitter at capital R, capital L-E-S, capital S-A-N-T-O-S. So it's R. Les Santos. His name is Ryan. He just wanted to tweet this out and say, my brother lost the mother of his children and their grandfather on June 5th. She was murdered and her father died hours after getting the news. My niece are the last surviving members of their maternal family. If you can, please give, but do share. So if you guys will go to his Twitter page, at the minimum, let's get this sent around Twitter, and let's help support them. If you'd like to donate, listen, there's no amount that's too small. Obviously, this family has experienced a horrible, horrible tragedy. I couldn't imagine going through that. and just wanted to kind of get the word out there for him. I know we like to have a lot of fun on here. We like to goof off and all that. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about making other people's lives just a little bit better than when they cross your path. So let's take care of our own. Let's make sure we do that. I know that's what Tom Grossi's out there doing right now. If you guys aren't following, dude's going all over the country raising money for St. Jude's. I think they've raised over $125,000 now. Guys, it's what makes the Packer community and its fans what it is, you know. And let's make sure that stuff like this, where we're helping one another, let's make sure that's a lot louder than the division that we have. And there's nothing wrong with a good argument. Don't get me wrong. Like, we like to have fun and poke fun at each other and all that. We darn sure like to insult Bears fans. But at the end of the day, let's make sure we're taking care of each other. So we're going to get out of here. Appreciate everybody taking the time to hang out with us. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Pack, go.
For Jordan Love.
37. Here he is throwing in the middle. It's caught by Watson. He's got great speed. Turning the corner. Christian Watson down the sideline. And he will score. Whoa. Hang on. Love to Watson. To a one-score game.
This one is the stunner. You basically feel like, all right, this Eagles team sort of has this thing under control, and then Christian Watson hits the Jets again. 6 touchdowns now in the last 3 games. He is really something. When he gets in the open field and running, that was some throw by Jordan Love, too.